paragraph page 1130.
Mm-hmm.
1130. And
Mm-hmm.
our last headword was status, new word
Mm-hmm.
type of lesson.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with revision. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. What proportion of people do you think would be willing to commit financial fraud if they knew they were guaranteed to get away with it? What proportion of people do you think would be willing to commit financial fraud if they knew they were guaranteed to get away with it? I think
I think about 20%
of
of
people would
people
be willing
would be
to
willing
commit
to
financial
commit
fraud
financial
if they
fraud
knew
if they
they were
knew they
guaranteed
were
to get
guaranteed
away with it.
to get away with it.
Very good. Does this class always assemble in the same room? Does this class always assemble in the same room? Yes or no?
Oh, yes,
This class
this class
always
always
assembles in the
assembled
same
in
room.
the same room.
Very good. What are the advantages of buying furniture that you assemble at home as opposed to ready-made furniture? What are the advantages of buying furniture that you assemble at home as opposed to ready-made furniture? The
The
advantages of
advantages
buying
of
furniture
buying
that you
furniture
assemble at
that you
home
assemble at
as
home
opposed to
as opposed
ready-made
to
furniture
ready-made
are
furniture
that the
are that
furnitures
the
usually
furnitures
cheaper
usually cheaper
and easier to
and
transport.
easier to transport.
Very good. Okay, next. Does a person with poor dress sense tend to choose clothes that don't go with one another? Does a person with poor dress sense tend to choose clothes that don't go with one another? Yes. A
Yes,
person
a
with
person
poor dress
with a
sense
poor dress sense
tend to choose
and
clothes
choose
or
clothes
tend to choose
tend to clothes
that don't go
that don't go
with one another.
with one another.
Very good. Okay. What do we mean by a recording studio and a TV studio? What do we mean by a recording studio and a TV studio? By a recording
By a
studio
recording
and a
studio
TV
and a
studio,
TV
we
studio,
mean the
we
places
mean the
where
places
music
where
and
music
TV
and
programs are recorded.
are recorded.
Very good. What's the principal difference between a bed sit and a studio flat? What's the principal difference between a bed sit and a studio flat? The principal
The
difference
principal difference
between a bed sit
between a bed
and a
sheet
studio flat
and a studio
is
flat
that the
is
tenant
that the
in a
tenant
bedsit
in the bed sheet
shares a bathroom
shares a
with
bathroom
other
with
people
other people
in the building,
in the building,
whereas the tenant
whereas the
in a studio flat
in a studio flat
has their own bathroom.
have their own bathroom.
Very good. Why should people with hectic working lives make sure they don't skip breakfast? Why should people with hectic working lives make sure they don't skip breakfast? People with
People
hectic
with
working
hectic
lives
working
should
lives
make sure
make
they
sure
don't skip
they
breakfast
don't skip breakfast
because they might not
because they
find
might not
the
find
time to eat
the time to
a
eat
decent lunch later
decent
on.
lunch later on.
Very good. Give me an example of the word costly. Give me an example of the word costly, please. After making
After making
several costly
several
mistakes,
costly
the
mistakes,
CEO took
the
the decision
CEO took the
to
decision
resign.
to resign.
Very good. Okay, next. Do you think today's society means young people tend to be more sophisticated than in the past? Do you think today's society means young people tend to be more sophisticated than in the past? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
I think today's
I think
society
today's
means
society
young people
means young
tend to be
people
more
tend to be more
sophisticated
sophisticated
than in the past.
in the past
Than in the past.
than in the past
Why? Why do you think so? Because
because they have high equipment
mhm,
that can acquire huge amount information
amount of information
of information and they can have much more experience than in the past.
than in the past. Very good. Next, do some big companies use sophisticated methods to reduce their tax burden? Do some big companies use sophisticated methods to reduce their tax burden? Yes. Some
Yes,
big companies
some big
use
companies use
sophisticated methods
sophisticated
to
methods
reduce
to
their
reduce
tax
their
burden. Very good. What's the maximum number of people you could put up overnight in the place where you live? What's the maximum number of people you could put up overnight in the place where you live? The maximum
The
number
maximum
of people,
people,
the maximum number
maximum number
of
of
people
people
I could put up,
put up,
I could put up
I could put up
overnight in
overnight
the place where I
in the
live
place where I
is
live
about.
is about 5 people.
Very good. Are negotiations between two nations usually more fruitful when both sides are prepared to compromise? Are negotiations between two nations usually more fruitful when both sides are prepared to compromise? Oh, one more.
Oh, excuse.
Uh, Let me reconnect. One moment.
Oh,
Okay, there we go.
okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, one more. Are
Mm-hmm.
negotiations between two nations usually more fruitful when both sides are prepared to compromise? Are negotiations between two nations usually more fruitful when both sides are prepared to compromise? Yes.
Yes,
Negotiations
negotiations
between two nations
between two
are
nations
usually
are
more
usually
fruitful
more
when
fruitful
both
when
sides
both
are
sides
prepared
are prepared
are prepared
are
to
prepared to
compromise.
compromise.
Very good. Why do some jewelry stores have special security systems to let customers in and out? Why do some jewelry stores have special security systems to let customers in and out? Some jewelry
Some
stores
jewelry
have
stores
special
have a special
security systems
security
to
system
let
to
customers
let
in
customers
and out
in and out
because jewelry
because
stores
jewelry
are
stores
often
are
targeted
often
by robbers.
by robbers.
Very good. Do airport security officers demand to see a valid boarding pass before they let passengers through to catch their flight? Do airport security officers demand to see a valid boarding pass before they let a passenger through to catch their flight? Yes.
Yes,
Airport security
airport
officers
security officers
demand to see
demand to
a
see
valid boarding
a
pass
valid boarding pass
before they let
before
a
they let
passenger
a
through
passenger through
to catch their flight.
to catch their flight.
Very good. Which element of their profile do people change most often in social media websites? Which elements of their profile do people change most often on their social media website? The
The
elements of
element
their
of
profiles
their
that
profiles
people
that
change
people
most
change
often
most
on
often
social media
on social
websites
media website
are their profile
are their
pictures,
profile picture,
relationship status,
relationship status,
etc.
etc.
Very good. Why do newspaper like to publish stories about high-profile celebrities? Why do newspaper like to publish stories about high-profile celebrities? Newspapers like to
Newspapers like
publish
to publish
stories about
so about
stories about
stories about
high-profile
high profile
celebrities
celebrities
because they know
because they
more
know
people
more
will
people
buy their
will buy
newspaper.
their newspaper.
Very good. In a small shop, where is the till normally situated? In a small shop, where is the till normally situated? In a small shop.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, not new word.
yeah, that's correct. It's the new word already.
Yeah.
Okay, so repeat. Till,
Till,
counter.
counter.
I got carried away though. Very good. Okay, listen. The word counter is a
Mm-hmm.
piece of furniture with a flat surface that
Mm-hmm.
workers and customers stand on opposite sides when
Mm-hmm.
doing business in a store, restaurant, etc. The word
Mm-hmm.
till is a noun. It is a drawer for keeping money in a store or bank. For example, in a small shop, the till is normally situated on the counter. Okay, let's
Oh,
practice.
oh, American English register.
Register, that's right. Cash
Oh,
register.
oh, cash register. Okay.
Very good. Okay, let's practice. In a small shop, where is the till normally situated?
Mm.
In a small shop, where is the till normally situated? In a small
In
shop,
a small
the
shop,
till
the
is
till
normally
is
situated
normally
on the
situated
counter.
on the counter.
Very good. Next, repeat. Stay behind.
Stay behind.
Very good. Okay, listen. The words stay behind is a phrasal verb.
Mm-hmm.
It means to remain somewhere after everyone else has left. For
Mm-hmm.
example, a pupil might feel a little anxious if their teacher asked them to stay behind after class because they might
Mm-hmm.
assume there was a problem or that they were in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Let's practice. Why might a pupil feel a little anxious if their teacher asked them to stay behind after class? Why might a pupil feel a little anxious if their teacher asked them to stay behind after class? A pupil
A
might
pupil
feel a
might
little
feel
anxious
a little
in
anxious
their
in
if If their
If
teacher
if their teacher
asked them to stay
ask them to
behind
stay
after
behind
class
after
because
class
they might
because they
assume
might
there was a
assume
problem
there was a
or
problem
that they were
or that
in
they were
trouble.
in trouble.
Very good. Next, repeat. Overlook.
Overlook.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word overlook is a verb. It
Mm-hmm.
means to have a
Oh.
view looking down at something. For
Oh.
example, this room overlooks the city, or the
Mm-hmm.
Tokyo Sky Tree overlooks the whole Tokyo.
Oh.
Okay. Overlook also means to fail to see
Mm,
or notice something like you didn't see. For
mm,
example, the name of jobs where overlooking details can lead to costly errors are architect, engineer, surgeon, etc.
mm,
If you didn't see the details. Okay, so
mm.
let's practice.
You know, to see.
The sure room overlooked the
Mm.
street. The sure room overlooked the street. Yes or no?
Oh no,
My room
my
doesn't
room
overlook
doesn't
the street.
overlook the street.
Well, name a job where overlooking details can lead to costly errors. Name a job where overlooking details can lead to costly errors. The name
The name
of a job
of a job
where
where
overlooking details
overlooking
can
details
lead
can
to
lead
costly errors
to costly
is
errors
that of
is
an
that of
architect,
an architect,
engineer,
engineer,
surgeon,
surgeon,
etc.
etc.
Very good. Next, repeat incident.
Incident.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word incident is a noun. It is
Mm,
an unexpected and usually an unpleasant thing that happens. For example, I think Saturday is the day on which the police in my country have to deal with the highest number of criminal incidents.
mhm,
Let's practice. On which day of the week do you think the police in your country have to deal with the highest number of criminal incidents? On which
mhm,
day of the week do you think the police in your country have to deal with the highest number of criminal incidents? I
mhm.
think the
I
police
think the
in my
police
country
in my
have to
country
deal
have to
with the
deal
highest
with the
number
highest
of
number
criminal
of
incidents
criminal
on.
incidents on weekend.
Very good. Okay. Next, live on.
Live on.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word live on is also a phrasal verb.
Mm,
So it means to continue to live through difficulties or to continue
difficult.
living with a limited amount of money or food. For example, I
Mm,
usually live on
food.
5,000 pesos a month. Oh, that's very
Mhm.
small. Okay.
Mm.
If I were suddenly forced to live on half the money I live on now,
Mhm,
it'd cost me financial crisis.
mhm,
Let's practice. If you were suddenly forced to live on half the money you live on now, would it cause financial crisis for you? If you
mhm.
were suddenly forced to live on half the money you live on now, would it cause financial crisis for you? Yes or no?
Oh yes.
If I were
If I
suddenly
were suddenly
forced to live
forced to live
on half the
on
money
half the
I
money
live on now,
I live on now,
it'd cost
it
me
would cost
financial
me
crisis.
financial crisis.
Very good. Next, repeat critical.
Critical.
Partnership.
Partnership.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word partnership is a noun.
Mm,
It is a business owned by two or more people or businessmen.
mm,
For example, a business partnership is likely to last long if they support one another's idea.
mm,
The word critical is an adjective. It is a character of always finding mistakes and problems.
mm,
For example, a business partnership isn't likely to survive if the partners are constantly critical of one another's ideas.
mm,
By a critical decision, we mean a very important decision that will dictate
mm,
how a situation develops.
mm,
Okay, let's practice. Is
mm.
a business partnership likely to survive if the partners are constantly critical of one another's ideas? Is a business partnership likely to survive if the partners are constantly critical of one another's ideas? No. A
No,
business
a
partnership
business partnership
isn't likely to
isn't
survive
likely to survive
if the partners
if the
are
partner
constantly
are
critical
constantly critical
of one another's
of one
ideas.
another's idea.
Very good. What do we mean by a critical decision? What do we mean by a critical decision? By a critical
By a
decision,
critical
we
decision,
mean a
we
very
mean a
important
very
decision
important
that
decision
will dictate
that will
how
dictate
a situation
how a
develops.
situation developed
Very good. Next, repeat overseas.
overseas.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word overseas is an adverb. It means
Mm,
in or to a foreign country that is across a sea or ocean. For
mm,
example, it isn't possible to travel abroad from my country without going overseas.
mm,
Let's practice. Is it possible to travel abroad from your country without going overseas? Is it possible to travel abroad from your country without going overseas? Yes or no?
no,
It isn't
it
possible
isn't
to
possible
travel
to
abroad
travel
from
abroad
my country
from my
without
country
going
without going
overseas.
overseas.
Very good. Next repeat crossing.
Crossing,
Pedestrian. Yep.
pedestrian.
Very good again. The word pedestrian is a noun. It
Mm-hmm,
means people walking along the streets. For example,
mm-hmm.
pedestrians have to be very careful when crossing the
Mm-hmm,
roads.
mm-hmm,
Crossing is a painted path or place where you can safely cross the road, railway, river, etc. For
mm-hmm,
example, all the pedestrian crossings in my town are controlled by traffic lights.
mm-hmm,
Let's practice. Are all the pedestrian crossings in your town controlled by traffic lights? Are
mm-hmm.
all the pedestrian crossings in your town controlled by traffic lights? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
All the
All
pedestrian
the
crossings
pedestrian
in my
crossings
town
in my
are
town
controlled
are
by
controlled
traffic lights.
by traffic lights.
Very good. Next, repeat. Look on.
Look on.
Retirement.
Ret-
Very good. Okay, listen. The word retirement is a noun. It
mm-hmm,
is the time when you stop working, especially because of having
mm-hmm,
reached a particular age.
mm-hmm,
For example, the retirement age for people in my country is 65 years old.
mm-hmm,
Look on is a phrasal verb. It means to think and consider something. For example, I think most people look on retirement as a negative change in their lives because they
mm-hmm,
might think they are useless and too old to do anything.
mm-hmm,
Okay, let's practice. Do you think most people look on retirement as a positive or negative change in their lives? Do you
mm-hmm,
think most people look on retirement as a positive or negative change in their lives? I
mm-hmm.
think most people,
As most people,
I think
I
most
think
people
most
look
people
on
look
retirement
on it
as a
as a positive
change in their
change in
lives.
their lives.
Very good. Next, repeat heavy,
Heavy,
like heavy.
heavy,
Soak.
soak.
Very good. Okay, listen. We can sometimes use the word heavy with a meaning similar to intense. Heavy,
Mm-hmm,
intense.
mm-hmm,
Okay. For example, a heavy cold is a bad cold or intense
mm-hmm,
cold. And
mm-hmm,
if someone sleeps heavily, it means that they're hard to wake up.
mm-hmm,
The word soak is a verb. It is to make something completely wet or to become very wet. For example,
mm-hmm,
if I went for a walk in heavy rain without my umbrella, I'd get soaked. Okay, let's
mm-hmm.
practice.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an example of the word heavy with a meaning similar to intense. Give me an
Mm-hmm.
example of the word heavy used with a meaning similar to intense, please. He was breathing
He was
heavily
breathing heavily
because he'd been
because
running
he'd be running
very far.
very far.
If you went for a walk in a heavy rain without an umbrella, would you get soaked? If you went for a walk in heavy rain without an umbrella, would you get soaked? Yes.
Yes,
If I went
if
for a
I went
walk
for a walk
in heavy rain
in heavy rain
without an
without
umbrella,
an umbrella,
I'd get soaked.
I get soaked.
Very good. Next, repeat helpful,
Hopeful,
help, hopeful,
Hel-
hopeful,
hopeful,
hopeless.
hopeless.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word hopeful is an adjective. It
Mm-hmm.
means believing that something will happen the way you want it to. For example,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hopeful for the future of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Hopeless is also an adjective. If something is hopeless, it seems very unlikely to succeed or improve. For example, he felt confused and hopeless after losing his job. Hmm. Let's practice.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hopeful for the future of the planet? Are you hopeful for the future of the planet? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'm hopeful
I'm
for the
hopeful
future
for
of
the
the planet.
future of the planet.
Tell me something that you're hopeless at. Tell me something that you're hopeless at. I'm hopeless at
I'm hopeless at
which one? Singing, dancing, acting,
singing.
singing. Yeah, me neither. Okay, very good. Okay, so now let's move on to reading.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay, very good. So our reading is at stage 10, paragraph page 837.
So
Last
this
head word was print. Okay, start with head
print.
word recipe.